let me introduce you our connexas migration tool, which can migrate SAP-related documents from one repository to another one. And I do this today as an example for an invoice. So I open here an invoice on the SAP side and check, do we have here attachments? Yes, so here are 2 attachments. By the way, one is coming maybe from Alfresco, the other one was directly in SAP. And just to show and test, yeah, we can display the document. And maybe interestingly, this document also has here a note attached. Might be interesting later on. So this was just a short test. Yes, here is our invoice. And to be there a little bit more precisely what happens, I am a fan of checking the whole thing also in the background. You see there's a transaction OAAD to go for ArchiveLink documents and for this dedicated invoice. And now here we see the 2 documents, and we can, for example, see that this is linked to the ZT repository with this document type, and we have here our document ID. And by the way, if you typically run a migration run with many documents, not only 2, it's an easy way to test if the documents are really on line. You can simply select all and make a status query. Then SAP asks you, yes, do you want to make a status query, and say, yes, these 2 documents are online. So most probably we will be able to migrate them. So it doesn't make sense to migrate documents that are not online. And finally, let's just have here a look to the detail screen about the business object. But here we see our document ID and we see the document type, which is typically bound to the storage system, so our content repository ZT at the moment. And if you want to we see that the status is online. We did the query right now, but you can even do here a status query a little bit more precise. And then you see the technical details also about the document that is stored in the repository. So this is the data component, and the node component is our additional node that we have stored over here. So okay, so we have seen now all the technical details about the document. So it's easier for me to remember here the object key because I only want to migrate then a few documents. Okay, so you've seen the technical details, and now let's go to our migration tool. So the migration tool has 3 options. You can do a business document between archives, meaning ArchiveLink documents. And you can move attachments to ArchiveLink, so from the attachment functionality of SAP to an ArchiveLink object. And finally, we can move documents between repositories, which means categories, so attachments from one category to another one. Today I want to focus here on this ArchiveLink migration, and the business object we were looking right now is the following. So you see, I want to migrate all documents related to an invoice with an object ID. Right now I do it like this. Typically you will take the creation date, so we take 1 day or something like this. And we want to migrate this from our ZT archive that we have seen right now, which can be an OpenText, Filenet, whatsoever, to the destination archive, which is HR. In our case, it's Alfresco. So in our case, we could do a test run, but I think we don't need it right now, so let's do it directly. But before we do the actual run, and I also have to mention this, we want to delete the old link, so otherwise if you do not delete the old link, it will remain the link to the ZT repository, so to the old one, and also the new one. In our case, I think we should directly delete the old link, not to be mixed up. But again, before we can do it, we have to tell SAP, hey, we don't use the ZT repository anymore because this currently is the customizing, so we should use HR. That's why we have to go to the which one? Let's take. I take a new one. It's in transaction OAC 0. no, OC3, sorry. And here we can then, so we look for the BKPF, and you see this inf demo was our document tab. Now we change this to HR because now the system should store documents, so the migrated documents, also to the HR repository, which is at the end Alfresco for us. Okay, so we changed the customizing, and just that you see that even if you change the customizing now, you are still in the position to display the documents from the invoice. So just to be clear on this, so we can continue to display the document because the link to the ZT archive is still there. It's in the table TOA01. And even if you change the customizing that new documents will be stored to HR, all documents can be displayed. So there's no disruption for the end user. They can always see the document. Now, finally, let's go to the to our migration tool. So you see, I don't do it in test run. I do it directly, and I delete the old link. And you see here for this only business object. Again, typically you take here a time frame. Now, let's run the report, which now calls the document from the old archive, from ZT, and moves it to HR, and you see it's moved successful. So if we can't open the document, for example, as we cannot retrieve, if we would not have done this link check before, then you would have here an error message if something goes wrong. So 2 documents have been moved. So I think it's not a big thing, but now let's check what has happened in the background, of course. And therefore I go back to my technical view. First of all, maybe remember that's the old screen. It's here still in system ZT, and with this document ID, please also have a look on the archive date, expiration date, because this information, of course, should all stay the same, but here the storage system will change to HR, and the document ID might also change. So let's go on back and execute again. So we search again the same entries, and now you see, really now these documents are here in the HR system. Again, to make it easy for me, I just check, is the document really here? And yes, it's online. And when I have a closer look to this line, we see here everything is the same like before, but the HR system is now, or the HR content repository, and even we don't remember, but the document ID might have also changed, and the rest is the same. So you see that we have here the archive date and so on. And if we check, then now this is the new system coming from. So this is now really from, as you see, from today, because this is now from Alfresco. The document has been stored. And by the way, not only the PDF, but also the note has been stored to Alfresco. And we could even easily have a check on this. The easiest way for me is the unique identifier. I copy the document ID, and I have a look here to my Alfresco system, and I have to search now for the HR system because I stored it to the HR site in this case. And when I have a look now for my archive ID, you see that both documents are there. So it's the actual PDF, and by the way also the note. So the document really has arrived here on the Alfresco site. So I think that's it. As a short summary, we have seen the migration of the document, how it looks before, how you can check easily if the document is online, how you can check afterwards if the migration was successful, that you have a log file about the whole thing, and that also components like the like nodes are migrated with our migration tool. And of course we should test also if the document has really or can be displayed here on the SAP side. Just double check this, but typically it should. then we see that we again can open the document also on the SAP side, including here the notes.